Good morning. So, as I go down my own spiritual path, my own spiritual journey, of course, these lessons show up, and they touch me in such deep and profound ways. And I wanted to share one of those lessons with you this morning that has been really becoming a big part of my own spiritual practice, if you will. And that's something called self-honesty. And I can tell you right now, as I look back at my own life and I see where I was really struggling, those times when I just couldn't figure it out, I realized that what was going on is that the truth is I wasn't able to be honest with myself. In other words, there was something that was going on inside of myself that I just couldn't look at. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and go, something is happening because of something that's going on inside of myself. So for years, I would pray to God, hey, this wide open please just heal me of all this pain and all the suffering that's going on. Please just come and take it, all of it, whatever it looks like, right? Something would come up, whether it was money or relationships or health, you name it. I'd pray to God, hey, fix this thing. Convenient, right? Hey, could you kind of step in here and fix this for me, please? Right? And during those times when I was really struggling, it would seem like nothing would change. No matter how much I would pray, no matter how much I would ask God, plead God, beg God, nothing worked. Nothing worked. Anybody ever been there? Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. And then I would ask, why? Why, God? You know, I'm a decent human being. I'm a good person. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm giving back to my community. I'm doing the best thing I can to share your word to the best way that I know how. I'm trying to do good here. Why is this happening? Where are you? And then I'd get mad. Anybody get mad at God ever? Yeah, I did. Because I didn't understand. I'd get angry and I'd ask, come on, where are you? I'd start to question myself. I'd start to question God. I'd start to question life. I had this thing inside of myself that knew the divine was inside of me. And I knew that if I could connect with it, then great things would happen. And yet it just wasn't happening for me. And I had to sit there and say, why? And then one day, or should I say over the course of many days, right, I started to realize what the problem was. And I can assure you, first of all, the problem was not God, right? The problem was not God. Somewhere other than God. Actually, I had to look at myself in the mirror, right? And the problem was that I didn't fully understand how the healing process really worked. And I was missing a big piece of the process. And the big piece of the process that I was missing was that I was not willing to embrace and accept the part of me that was causing the problem. I'm going to say that again. I was not willing to embrace the part of me that was causing the problem. You see, what I realize now is that I wanted to blame everything outside of myself. I used to think my problem was because of a person, a situation, a thing, a place. It was because of my girlfriend or my wife. It was because of my boss. It was because I didn't have any money. It was because of where I lived. It was because of the government, and on and on and on. So in other words, all of my problems was because of something other than me. How convenient. How easy. When all of a sudden we can just go, not my fault. It's not my fault, right? And so what it was I was really, really good at being a victim. Because after all, if it's not your fault, then, hey, nothing I can do about it, right? And I was really, really, really good at being a victim. Really good at being a victim. And that is where the problem was. I wasn't willing to accept full responsibility for what was showing up in my life. I hadn't yet understood that my inner world, what was going on in here, was creating my outer world. I believed just the opposite, that my outer world was creating my inner world. So I had vision that was kind of goofed up. I wasn't seeing things correctly, right? And as a result, I wasn't being honest with myself. And now what I understand is that until I'm willing to accept my part of whatever is going on, nothing can change. I don't care how many times I pray to God to ask for help. Nothing is going to change for me. Nothing. And all of it came down to self-honesty, getting real with myself, being honest with myself, figuring out what's going on up here first. That's where I needed to go. And I needed to come clean and accept that even though I may not fully understand what's going on, that there was a part of me, there was something that was causing whatever the problem was. That's not easy. When you actually stand in that space of accepting full responsibility, folks, that is not an easy place to stand. But if you want to be able to stand fully back into your power, that's exactly what needs to happen. In the book, The Way of Mastery, it says, the embracing of deep self-honesty, the mastery of it, is the greatest act of self-love that the mind can experience. For it is in the embrace with perfect self-honesty that returns the mind to sanity. It is the refusal to be honest that creates a conflict and tension in the mind that is called insanity. And the insanity is a state in which the mind is not at peace. And the Christ cannot enter therein. Wait, whoa. What? This is the part that started to blow my mind. I'm going to say this again. And the insanity is a state in which the mind is not at peace and the Christ cannot enter in. What does the Christ have to do with any of this thing? Oh, everything. Just everything, right? Remember when I was saying I would pray over and over and over again and nothing would change, right? Why? It's easy. Because what was happening is the Christ consciousness, in the midst of all this pain, all this turmoil, everything that was going on, it couldn't enter in. It couldn't come in. Why? Because I'm running around like my chicken with my head cut off going, ah! And the Christ consciousness, the thing that I needed to help me to get through whatever it was that I was going through, could not enter in. Couldn't. And that's why nothing would change. Do you get that? Insanity, the state of insanity. We are not able to slow down. We're not able to tune in. We're not able to let in everything the universe is trying to do to support us. Everything. We are constantly being supported on so many levels you have no idea the help that is being extended to us because of who and what we are, which is a divine child of God. It's endless, the help that is there for us. But we can't receive it when we're running around frantically, going here, going there. Ah. It's a slowing down. It's an invitation. It's a tuning in to our own divinity. That is what started to change. As I was going through this, what I would notice is that in those times, I would start to judge myself. I would go into guilt, blame, and shame. Those were my go-tos. Anybody else go there? guilt, blame, shame. And I would think I was broken, that I must be flawed, that God didn't love me, that I didn't matter. Talk about insanity. That's insanity. And of course, then what would I do? Go back to God. Please, God, just get rid of this. Please, just get rid of this. Just get rid of this. Right? It's like, just take away this piece that is broken. Would you please just do that? And I figured, as long as I was identifying it, I thought that was enough. But it's not enough. And there's still another part of the process that most people, myself included, didn't understand. And I think this is where it really gets to the heart of it. And that is two things: forgiveness, acceptance. Forgiveness, acceptance. So let me explain. So what was happening, if you think about it, I'm living my life, the stuff was coming up, I would look at it and go, yuck. And then I would say to myself, well, these are bad, these shouldn't be happening, I don't like them, I don't want them to be happening, I felt ashamed by them, I blame them, yada, yada, yada. Right? Because that's what we do. That's how it works. Right? And now what I understand that is, in order for me to heal, I had to be willing to forgive and accept all of me, warts and all, everything. A full acceptance of my entire being in order for me to heal. Yes, embrace all of it. Myrtle Fillmore once said, Spirit said to me, you have looked at your faults and not at your virtues. She thought how strange, but soon it came to her that she had tried to keep her feelings to herself, taking great pride in the fact that she never let anyone know just how she felt whenever anything displeased her or hurt her. Do you know what she's really saying there? If you really listen to that. What she's really saying is that she wasn't being honest with herself. She was being fake. Do you know what that's called in modern day terms? It's called spiritual bypassing. So in other words, what do? Well, we just walk around and we smile and we say how great life is and how much fun we're having and everything is wonderful on the outside, and look at me. But on the inside, we're miserable. We're miserable, right? Unity in the past, some people have said that's what we do. And that's what the teachings are of unity. And I would say to those people, you couldn't be more wrong. You don't understand the true meanings, the true teachings of what unity is. That's not what unity is. And so Myrtle goes on to say, I determined to handle all that came to me before I would swallow it and allow it to irritate, cut, and weaken my nerves and organs. Again, Myrtle had tuberculosis, right? And as she gained real poise and the ability to keep her thoughts and feelings truly free, she was healed and restored to strength and normal functioning. That is how she did it. How did she do it? If you really boil it down, she started being honest with herself and others, and she quit spiritually bypassing. That's what she did. So I want you to think about Myrtle's healing journey when she began healing. I don't remember reading about shame, blame, or guilt. Do you? That's not what I understood that she did at all. What it did look like is she just started being honest and she started to heal. She totally forgave herself. She totally forgave her body. She totally forgave the circumstance. She accepted what was going on, and she loved on her body that was not functioning properly. And then guess what? It healed. She talked to her organs like they were little children who just needed to know how much they were loved and how amazing they were. And guess what? the body started to respond. Go figure, right? She literally showed the part of her that she had criticized, judged, condemned, and wanted to ignore her entire life, and did the complete opposite of it. When you really break it down and look at what Myrtle did, what did she do? First of all, she started with forgiveness. But I want you to hear this because there's a subtlety here. The forgiveness was about the judgment that she had about herself and her body and the circumstances that was going on. So she started by forgiving the judgment. Because guess what happens when you forgive the judgment that you have about something? What are you able to do? Acceptance. When you let go of the judgment, you're able to accept whatever is going on. That doesn't mean that it needs to last forever, but you are finally able to go, yeah, I can accept this. This is what's going on in my life. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say it's not happening. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to accept it. When you let go of the judgment that you've placed upon whatever is happening and yourself, you are able to fully accept it. When you can finally accept it, guess what, folks? You can heal it. You can finally heal whatever it is that's going on. It doesn't matter. And that's what Myrtle did. That's how she healed tuberculosis. And then, the thing that's really cool is when she started to realize, if I can heal tuberculosis, guess what? I can do anything, any part of my life. I can apply the same principles and create whatever I want to create. And boy, did she create. And then, yeah, Charles showed up a little bit later, right? And then Charles, they came together and the rest was magical, right? And so what I'd like to do this morning with you is share with you a similar process of what Myrtle used, but I added a little bit of my own spin to it, if you will, right? In other words, I have found what works for me, and I cannot emphasize this enough to you. We each have our own way. We each know inside of us what it is that we need to do, and it might be a little bit different, and it's okay. It's okay, whatever your healing process is. It's okay if you want to use some different words. It's okay if you want to add some steps or take away from some steps that I share with you this morning. It doesn't matter. As long as there's a few key elements to this process, I'm sure that you will find it helpful for whatever it is that you're dealing with. So what is this process? Well, again, I'm going to go back to the book, The Way of Mastery. For you have returned to sanity by merely confessing to the deepest part of yourself, which has arisen and passed away within the lower mind. Now, I can see all the Catholics in the room running for the door right now. I'm not talking about that kind of confession, and I'm not judging how the Catholics do confession, by the way, either. But what I'm saying is, for me, the confession is the bringing it forward. It goes on to say, the confession is the bringing light to darkness is all that matters. Bringing light to darkness, acknowledging this thing, constantly desiring to bring greater light to your own darkness is the way in which you live moment to moment, desiring greater light, and greater light. Awareness, folks. You're bringing awareness. You're finally willing to sit back and go, here it is. In my meditations, what I do is I imagine me bringing this to an altar. I've got an altar in my meditations, and I go to it. And whenever there's healing involved, I imagine myself coming to an altar, and I imagine bringing whatever it is into my hands. And in my altar, I have a little fire element, and when I'm ready to release it, I literally let it go into the fire. You can play with this any way you want to. Do it whatever serves you, however it is. Right? So the process we're going to go through this morning is really 3 steps. Very simple. Don't complicate it, right? It's just identify whatever is happening in your life that you're struggling with or you want some help with. It doesn't have to be the thing. It could be, if you want it to be, but maybe something else you want to play with, right? Then what are you going to do? You're going to forgive the judgment that you've placed on this thing and yourself. Again, you're forgiving the judgment that it's wrong, that it's bad, that it shouldn't be happening, blah, blah, blah. You're going to forgive yourself for you being wrong. Why can't I fix this? Why can't I figure this thing out? Why can't I blah, 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 blah? Whatever the judgment is that you have against the situation and yourself, those are the 2 things you want to forgive. Because when we let go of the judgment, guess what happens? Acceptance. Then you can finally sit there and go, yeah, I'll own it. It's mine. I got it. I'll own this. In whatever level that looks like for you. And for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different, right? And then we do one last thing. So first of all, we've brought it to our attention, and then we forgive it, and then we accept it. And then what do? We pray, we bless it, and then we ask for it to be healed. That's it. That's it. It's a powerful process, folks. And the reason it's powerful is because of who and what you are. And you're using your own God-given abilities to change and transform those areas in your life that you want to heal. That is what Jesus did. That is what Buddha did. That is what the Fillmores did. And so many more that we don't even know about. We have that kind of power. You have that kind of power to be able to heal yourself because of your divinity. And that's what we have forgotten. That's not right, that's not wrong, that's not good, that's not bad. It is what it is. But the good news is we're starting to wake up. That's the beautiful news. And I would just encourage you to continue to play with this process. And if you have any questions, just come and talk to me, and we'll sit down, and we'll figure out what's going on. In closing, I want to quote another thing from The Way of Mastery. Teach only love to yourself by loving that which you have hated and judged. By allowing yourself to feel and to know that which is passing through the mind and body anyway. Embrace it. See your ordinary humanness not as an obstruction to peace, but as that through which peace can be extended. You're really beautiful. You are really loved. You are really amazing. We need you more than ever. Don't forget that. Don't ever forget who you are. Don't ever forget why you came down here. You came down here to be part of the biggest transformation this planet has ever seen. And that show is just getting started. So guess what? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. God bless.